Welcome to Operational Harmony, Balancing Business and Mental Wellbeing, a podcast with honest discussions about professional life and mental well-being in a natural conversational way. Your host is Nikki, founder of Nikki's Office, where she supports entrepreneurs through operations, systems, and strategy. And now, let's hear from our guest.
Hi, I'm Sophie Campi, a business strategist for holistic practitioners, coaches, and healers. I help mission-driven practitioners build sustainable businesses without burnout or cringy sales tactics by focusing on radical clarity, simplicity, and nervous system-led strategy. Most people in this space think that they have a marketing or sales problem, but what they really have is a strategy problem in disguise. The good news about that, though, is that this is a much easier problem to solve than marketing. My work bridges grounded business strategy with real human capacity so people can grow their practice in a way that feels stable, aligned, and deeply connected.
Welcome to Operational Harmony. So when you're talking about radical clarity and deep connection, how do those fit into business?
One of the things that I see over and over again, and I saw it with my own experience of not being able to gain traction with my practice for so many years, is that usually it feels like, oh no, I don't know how to market or sell my services. I'm doing all this great stuff. Have these great one-on-ones or this great course, but no one's coming. So I don't know how to market and sell myself. And it tends to, especially for mission-driven people that care about connection and the holistic side, but this is the worst part of business. This feels so cringy. I don't want to put myself out there. It feels awkward, all these things. The good news about that is that it's actually like 99% of the time, not actually marketing and sales problem. It's a clarity problem. So it's bringing it back to the beginning and building some of this more fundamental foundational aspects of clarity around your services, who you offer or who you help, what you offer, the dream outcome that you help them find, and then shifting. So then what I see about that with radical clarity is that the more clear you get, and I even push it to say radical clarity because a lot of practitioners, people will say, I can help anyone. It's true. It's not that you are limiting your work. The problem is that when you say, I can help anyone, then you're not amazing at helping any of those people, right? Like you miss the mark with even integrity, and I can get into some of that. And so I say radical clarity because what we see is, oh, I'm clear. I can help all these different types of people. I'm going to push that, raise that bar even higher to say, if you even become radically clear, super, super clear, then everything else when it comes to your business is going to be much easier, much more graceful, much more organic, much more natural, much smoother. All those cringy things that people like, I don't want to sell myself, I don't want to market. So much of that goes away when you can get radically clear on these first foundational things. Yeah.
So how do you get to radical clarity? Because I know that's not hey, you just have to do it. Because no, if it was that easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly. And this is what's missing. And this is where the deep connection comes in, which is like a perfect segue into how does deep connection come into that. What I show my people how to do is that if and when you start at the very beginning by connecting deeply with people, those questions automatically get answered. And you don't even have to try, I'm doing air quotes here, try to answer those questions. You focus on connecting deeply with people with no goal in mind. And let me give you an example to put this more into perspective. Say you're a coach, practitioner, and healer. You got a Reiki certification and a life coaching certification. And you want to start offering one-on-one sessions and maybe some group work, or maybe you want to do a course. You're not really sure, but you for sure want to go all in on this path, right? You want to be a wellness expert, a wellness service provider. The very first thing that people usually do is try to start selling their services, right? They have an offer. They think they want to do this. They jump straight into what we call a growth strategy right? The growth phase, but they miss that search phase, what I'm talking about, right? That clarity. You miss that startup, that search phase. And so what happens is if you skip that startup and that search phase and you go straight into trying to grow and sell, it's almost guaranteed that every bit of time, money, resources, and energy spent there is going to be wasted. Not because what you're doing isn't valuable, but you just skipped this phase to finding that radical clarity. So instead, what I would tell someone to do that's starting out, or even if you're not just starting out, but nothing has been working for you, go back to the very beginning. Forget about your business. Forget about this pressure to sell or do something. Just start talking to people. What does that look like in practice? Who do you think you want to start helping? Even if you're not sure, I could help anyone, I'm not really sure. Then start talking to some people that come to you naturally. So maybe it's people that you already are seeing. Maybe you had another job, you have another expertise that you had prior to jumping into this. That's a good place to start. Start talking to people in that area, or it's moms in the carpool line, or your husband runs this other type of business and you see all these problems that people are having, people are suffering, right? Start talking to the people that are already in your everyday life. But this is the catch, and this is what's so important about these conversations. These conversations aren't to teach, they aren't to heal, they aren't to help, they aren't to solve problems. They are all about connection. You are simply connecting with people to learn about them, find out what are their problems? What is their pain? But you don't do it from the teacher, the practitioner, the expert lens. You just do it person to person, connecting deeply, hearing from people in their words. What are they truly up against? What is their pain? That is the deep connection. That is what guides the whole process. Because then what you do and what you start to see is then you start seeing patterns. And then you pattern match. And like I said, how do you find that radical clarity? You let them tell you what it is. The only work, air quotes, work that there is for a service provider to do at this point is to connect deeply with people. Feel how different that feels on the nervous system, right? We're also talking about wellness and mental health and all these things that also takes so much of the load that feels gross and icky off the nervous system for the person trying to start this business. Because your main goal is to connect deeply with people. Ask people questions, but don't try to solve them, right? Don't try to be in work mode. Just be in people mode, be in humanity mode. And then again, how you find that radical clarity from that is you pattern match. And that, of course, I teach people what to do with that data, but that is the key to building a successful business long-term, is to actually start by connecting deeply with people, just as a person, just to learn about them, just to hear from them, not trying to, again, solve anything, fix anything, just hear from them in their words, because that is the gold that you then cultivate everything else from. That's how I say, once you can find that radical clarity, everything gets really easy. Why? Because you let people tell you actually what they're up against. You don't put words in their mouths. You don't try to fix it or solve it or put practitioner speak. You hear from people in their words what their actual problems are like. If you start to see those patterns, so you start talking to moms in the carpool line, or you start talking to other waitresses or waiters, whatever your people are, right? Who are the people that you're around and gravitate toward you? Start having conversations with them. You'll see one of two things. Either, the thing that they're talking about isn't really how I want to help them. Like, usually that happens because we as practitioners and experts will see a little too far. So we'll see some problems. Oh, we want to fix them, but we want to fix them in our way. It doesn't work, right? When it comes to business, it actually will never work. So if you start talking to a group of people and you're like, they keep saying this thing, but it's not really what I'm interested in. They're not really seeing the real problem. Usually, like, the spiritual bypass is like, they don't see the real problem. They're not wrong for it, but it's just actually not a good fit for you right now, because if they're not aware enough that they have a problem, you will spend your time trying to convince people. No, red flag. You do not want to be spending your time convincing people. So if there's not that alignment in those conversations, nothing's wrong, right? Because you haven't spent time, money, resource, and energy on that. You've just had a couple conversations with people on Zoom, or had them for a coffee, or went for a drink, or went for a walk, however you had conversations, right? So the risk is really low at that point. Nothing's wrong. You just start with another group of people. Yeah, this isn't really my people, I discovered. So then you'll start talking to the next group. Then if it is, so again, I said one of two things will happen. Either you'll be like, oh, yeah, these aren't my people. Or, yeah, I get their problem. It's not one that I want to solve. Then you bounce. Nothing's wrong. Everything's fine here. Just not my people, not what I want to spend my time doing. Then you'll start talking to another group of people. The other option is it's warm. Like you're like, yes, this is what I love. Again, you're not trying to fix anything at this point. You're just talking to people. But then you're like, you talk to someone and that conversation like really resonates. You're like, yes, like this feels really good. This lights me up. This is my calling. This is the reason I got that Reiki certification. I want to heal people or whatever that is. But again, don't do anything else other than thank them, appreciate them, stay in the loop with them, but you don't do anything at that point. You have a next conversation. And once you start seeing patterns, 5, 6, 7, 10 people are saying the same thing, that is a really warm group that will become your people. And that's where you get that radical clarity from. They will tell you it. Again, there's some structures and some frameworks for what to do with it. How do you turn that raw data into what I call radical clarity? But this gives you an idea for you aren't making it up. It's not pulled out of a hat. You aren't closing your eyes and throwing a dart at the dartboard. They're going to tell you. Now you have to do something with that, but you are meeting them. That is like the definition of meeting people where they are when you do it this way.
So do you run into the roadblock often where somebody thinks they know who their target market is or who they want to sell to, and then they start doing it and they're like, what was I thinking?
Yes. And I've done this too. Yes. But the good news, like I said, it's if and when you shift into building a business this way that I show people and I'm teaching people, it turns out to not be it's like red light, yellow light, green light. It's not the end, right? You just shift, right? It's okay. Everything's fine. No big deal. It's very neutral. It's not this big, oh no, right? Like my goal is that people don't do what I did, which is spend 10 years and thousands of dollars and so many coaches and so many people trying to show me how to grow before I found my sweet spot, right? What I call offer market match. Like we're looking for this sweet spot point. My goal is to keep people from getting there. So when you realize what you're doing isn't a good fit, it's not, oh my God, I just wasted how many years? How much money? And now I'm here at this point. Like that's devastating. My goal is that it's not like that, because yeah, you'll run into that all the time. But when you do it this way, like I said, like then it's okay. You just start talking to a new group of people. What I see when I have the biggest problems with people, that it is still that devastating thing. Sometimes it can be hard for them to let it go. They have sometimes this romanticized idea of who their people are, who they want to help. And they've been so focused on that for so many years that it can be harder for them to let it go. But when I show them and teach them and they understand some of these things, one of the best ways to get through that roadblock of someone, let's say, like being attached to this romanticized idea of who their people are. And when I say romanticized, I mean, does that person really exist? Or is it this idea? Or maybe there's just a population of people that's just not a right fit. When I show them and teach them, when you take this approach, okay, set up 5 calls, 10 calls, or coffees or whatever it is to start talking to people. If you can't find them to have conversations with them, it is a very risky people to build a business around. And when they can see it on that level, I think it helps them get it, because when you take all of the pressure of the business off and you say, just have a coffee, or just like a simple, easy, no pressure, informal Zoom call, or however it looks. If they can't find them at that point, I think that is a really, again, their nervous system really gets that of, oh, okay. Again, it's like not this big high pressure thing. It's a simple, if you can't find them to have a coffee with them, probably not your people. They might not exist. It might be a romanticized idea of a person that doesn't really exist, or a group of people, but also maybe they do exist, but they're not your people. If you can't easily find them, like it's going to be a very hard road of trying to build a business around that group of people.
Yeah. And they have to be people you're at least semi comfortable around. Like for me, it would be a stupid idea for me to start target marketing an older person, an older guy, because I'm not comfortable working or being around them. So that would be stupid for me.
Absolutely.
But I'm also not going to pick an 18-year-old because who wants to look creepy on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, you're nailing it. And I think, again, when we shift around how we're building, when you think of it, just like who would you want to have a coffee with, if it doesn't work under those context, which is low stakes, low pressure. People are just showing up as themselves because they don't think you're going to sell to them. They don't think all these things that happen when all these guards go up. It makes it harder when you come into a business context. If it's not a good fit to just have a coffee, I guarantee it will only be 100 or 1,000 times harder when it is in a business context. So you want it to feel really good in this very beginning stage of the deep connection stage or phase. Whoever it is it book lovers? Is it people with teens? Is it whoever that group of people is? It wants to feel really good on your nervous system. And I want to add here, because this is what you brought up is a really good point. It might not always be the dream scenario of people that you want to help. Often, like when you are someone who is mission driven, you usually have this population of people that you really want to help. For me, it always has been and still is asylum seekers, right? Like people who are in a refugee crisis. That's not a great place to start. I know deep down that I will get there at some point, but that's not a great place for me to start when it comes to being in the startup search phase. So I want to add that for people who might be listening and hear this, like it needs to be people that are your people, even though it might not be this like deep mission of a population that is going to be harder to build a business around. It's likely going to be you need to be into them, you want to work with them, you want to help them. Even if it's not like your dream goal, it still needs to be your people in some capacity.
Yes. I know that when I was looking to figure out who my people were, it was a little bit difficult at first because I'm getting to be that age where that older group kind of makes sense, but my nervous system says, oh, hell no. And so I have to go a little younger, but then it's like, how young is too young before people start thinking I'm being creepy and not just trying to work with somebody? And of course, society putting limits on how much you can talk to or work with somebody who is younger than you is a pain in the neck. Not that I'm saying that because I want to go out and start doing stupid stuff with young people. It's just I shouldn't have to be worried about, oh yeah, I'm going to make this business connection. Oh wait, they're 19. That's probably not something I can look at. But,
For sure.
we shouldn't have to make that kind of leaps and bounds.
For sure, you don't. Again, if you wouldn't feel comfortable having a coffee with 10 or 20 of those types of people a week, it's just not, that would be one of the signposts that I would say, like, not a great fit. Not that anything's wrong. Someone's a great fit for them. You're a great fit for someone else. Nothing's wrong. We're all good here. But if it doesn't feel good on your body, on your nervous system to just have a coffee with this type of person, totally. That's not your people. And it's okay. You have them and you will find them.
Yeah, I've found a lot of people, mostly females, that I end up working with
Yeah.
because of my constraints. But I am a special case because I am special.
Yeah.
Trauma does stupid things to the body. And so when you're trying to work with somebody, having that trauma boiling up in the back of your brain, no matter how much you've worked on it, no matter how much you think you're okay, be alone in a room for more than 10 minutes with somebody who used to trigger you. You're still going to be anxious as hell. You're still going to want to get out. It's just not a good situation to put yourself in.
Absolutely.
In fact, I refuse to meet alone with men anyway. So
yeah, totally.
I just have my issues. But how do you tie that in with the mental well-being side of things?
Yeah. So one of the things that, when it comes to business side of clarity, of radical clarity, is also that confusion is a stressor, a major stressor on the nervous system, right? On all of the well-being, mental, physical, emotional, right? If there's confusion, and I'm going to go back a little bit to even clarify even further, especially for the types of people that I work with, like mission-driven service providers, like they're heart-led. It's not just, oh, I want to do this because it's cool. I want to do this because it's just something I can do. 100% of the people that I work with, they're very strongly soul and spiritually and emotionally tied to what they're doing. So it's even more so an expression of who they be. It's an expression of their nervous system. It's an expression of their vocation. It's an expression of so many deep layers of who they be. So if it's in confusion and chaos and it's not working, it is stressing all of those bits of the people that I work with. So when it comes to the business building side of being a service provider who is leading with intention and is doing it intentionally, there's way higher stakes on doing it in a way that feels really good on your body and really good on your nervous system. So when it comes to confusion, when it comes to being overly complex, something being misdiagnosed, oh, I think it's this, but it's this, like all of those different like business problems, even more so than just like a regular job, are really going to affect someone who is my clients, that is doing this type of mission driven work. So when it comes to getting radically clear, not only is it the better way to build a business, but it also is vital to feeling okay running that business. The mental health, the physical health, the emotional health, all of that is so deeply tied to the business. So again, if it's not clear, if it's confusing, if it's overwhelming, if you've lost self-confidence, all of the things that can come from not building it in a way that has a strong foundation, it's going to amplify that effect on the total well-being. Again, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, all of those layers are going to be deeply affected. So get the clarity. I say radical clarity, simplicity. The trifecta I usually work with is that radical clarity, simplicity, and deep connection. You get radically clear. It takes all of that overwhelm and that confusion and the pain out of I don't even know. I don't know how to explain myself. I don't know what I do. I don't know how to tell people what I do. People ask me what I do, but I don't really know how to explain it. That's so overwhelming for the nervous system. The simplicity, again, be super clear on what you do. Make it easy, make it simple so that you can go deeper into integrity, into your mission. Then that alleviates so much of the well-being piece. And then that last piece that we already talked a lot about, the deep connection. There is nothing that is more fulfilling to a human being than being deeply connected with community. So if it's not your biological family, if you are not sure who your people are, especially the post-COVID world, when you're suffering or you're struggling also with community, like create your community, be your community. And you can do that with your business by building this way that I'm showing people how to build. You're cultivating that community that are your people, and you can be a leader in that way. And that is, when you look at all these longevity studies, they say over and over again, the number one contributor to like happiness and well-being for longevity is the quality of the community, the quality of the connections. And again, that trifecta that I work with, radical clarity, simplicity, deep connection, it is the most effective way to build a business. And all three of those things are deeply connected to overall well-being.
And that just, again, proves the point for my podcast, because I wanted to point out the smudged lines between mental health and business, because I see it as somebody who struggles with mental health and has their own business, or struggles with their own business, right? I see the smudged lines. I see the burnout. I see the perfectionism. I see all of those things. And it's, you know what? You can take that topic and you can ask yourself, am I talking about my mental health or am I talking about my business? And the answer sometimes is, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Because they are so much like ingrained. That middle ground
Absolutely.
is so blurred that you don't know where one starts and one ends.
Because that point doesn't exist. Like you said, it's blurred over because again, everyone that I work with, their business, the work that they do is an expression of who they be. Like it is an expression of your core values, your deepest truth, your mission, things that are inexplicable, right? There is no way to put limits or circles or boxes around those things. And so then your business becomes an extension of that. It becomes an amplification of that. And so when it's not going well in your business, it's painful. It's painful. It's painful in a way that, like you said, it can't be separated out.
The other thing I've noticed from my own business is that if you are trying to set something up so that you can work with different people or you can do different things, right? Your systems, when you're setting up your systems, if you set them up in a rush or you set them up poorly because you don't know what you're doing, you are setting yourself up for failure. Because all that's going to do is magnify it. Once it becomes a problem, it's not going to start off as a tiny little anthill. It's going to be those big old anteater farming mountain things that you see in some countries that I don't know what they're called.
Absolutely. Part of what people will ask, how can you guarantee results so quickly? I've been doing this for so many years and nothing has worked. It's what you're saying, because I'm going back and working at the core and fixing or addressing those fundamental things that never got addressed, right? When you work at the core, major change can happen really quickly because you're coming to the core problem. It's not the band-aid problems, like the marketing that you think or the ads that you think aren't working, all these things that people think is the problem. Like I say, it's actually a strategy, it's a clarity, it's a fundamental problem in disguise. All those things are the distractors. You think, oh, if I make a better description, if I make a better social media post, if I'm more trendy, if I have a better whatever, fill in the blank with whatever these things are, those are the band-aids. It's just what you're saying. The thing that was skipped is the thing causing that. So if we can go to the core and adjust that, address the thing that either was built poorly or was overlooked and never got addressed, then you can actually solve all of the ancillary problems in one time. And then you're rebuilding from that point of strength, of strong foundation, right? Like I'm all about sustainable business. What is a sustainable business to me? It's one that feels good and that you can do through time. Like this is the goal. It's not something that's a flash in the pan. You got lucky on this one thing, but you don't really, whatever it might be. I don't work with those types of people. Those people that are trying to get a viral video or whatever. That doesn't create what I'm trying to help people create, which is sustainability, strong foundation, sustainability through time, this growth that once the growth comes, it's inevitable that it will keep coming because it was not guesswork. It was not accidental. It was not, again, a quick fix. You're starting from the core, you're shifting things there. And then at a certain point, again, growth becomes inevitable. If you follow the steps, because you're building the air quotes right way, you're building the way that is grounded and practical. Once you start finding that momentum, you trust it. It's not, oh no, it's going to leave. No, you address those things at the core, like you said, the underneath things. Not only does it solve so many of the problems that you think you have, right? When I say like the beginning in the intro, people think it's all these other problems when really it's usually a strategy problem in disguise. And addressing those there is way easier. Addressing the core problem is way easier than trying to address 50 or 100 problems that you think you have. Like that is a task that's not one that I want to take on. Come to the core, solve that, and it is a way easier problem to solve. And again, like I said, we're talking radical clarity, simplicity, deep connection, and then it takes you back into deeper into integrity, deeper into connection, deeper into your nervous system relaxes. You feel good doing it. It's not, you don't always feel like you're wearing a blindfold. That's how I felt for so many years building my business, blindfolded.
So as somebody who wears glasses, even if it's only when you're on TV or whatever. So my glasses I've worn since I was 5. I have a habit of not cleaning them regularly because if I don't notice there's a problem, there's no problem. But then one day you clean your glasses, right? After however long it's been, you clean your glasses and it's, oh, holy crap, I can see, it's a miracle. I think that was something that, what's his name said?
Yeah.
My brain just lost his name. But like, it's just, dust builds up over time, right?
Absolutely.
So if you start off and everything's clear, and then that you let that first bit of dust get on anything, and within days nothing is clear anymore, but you don't realize it because you haven't cleaned your glasses yet. And until you clean your glasses, which might take somebody else's help depending on age, right? Somebody else helps you by cleaning your glasses, and you get them and you put them on your face and you're like, oh no, what I do, right?
Absolutely. And this happens, it brings back up that word that I keep saying, integrity, because what I see is people who are, again, mission-driven, heart-led service providers. They start off with that mission, right? That mission is so clear. I'm so passionate. I want to do this thing. Then they start off on the business, and then, their first offer doesn't go well. So they think, okay, well, I need to tweak this. Let me tweak this thing. And then they tweak, and then they redo. And it doesn't really work. And then they tweak, right? So it can bring you actually pretty far. Like you said, just like the glasses. Eventually, you take advice from this person. This happened to me. I took so much advice from, I'd hire a business consultant. They'd be like, oh, do it this way and it will work. So I would change everything around and I would make this new offer and then I would launch that. And then it wouldn't work. And they'd be like, oh, gosh. And then I'd hire the next person that's, no, I work with people like you. I can help you take this business advice or take this course or whatever it is, do this free PDF or whatever it was that I would do. It would have me redo or, okay, let me try it this way. And then next thing I know, I'm so far off actually from not just where I started, because it's okay to change and evolve, but like I'm far from my integrity because I'm further from who I'm meant to be serving because no one showed me how to find that. They've just told me, oh, do it this way and it will work. I worked with this other guy who did it like this. I worked with someone, I'll give this personal example. I worked with someone, I'm trained, I'm a certified breathwork practitioner. And so I'm competent in doing that. I can do that. But I worked with a business consultant, high dollar business consultant. And she's like, there's this guy, he does this type of breath work. Do this, right? She basically tried to plug me into something that was successful for someone else. If you do this, you will be successful. And I believed her. And so I changed everything around and I started offering breath work. That's not who I can do it. Yes. I'm capable of doing it. Yes. I am certified. I have the qualifications. I enjoy it, but that's not what I was here to be doing. That's not who I be. And it just got me further. It was confusing, right? I was taking the advice of an expert. And so it was confusing to me because I believed her that she was able to help me or she helped this person. But then I became a version of myself that was far from actually like who I'm here to serve, right? We're talking mission driven, heart led. Like there is a vocational aspect to that. It's not just let me choose one. Let me put a blindfold on and throw a dart and just pick what I want to do. No, it's deeper than that. There's a mission under who you're here to help. And so that example shows I ended up offering these offers that just something I liked, but didn't feel like me. It didn't feel like what I was supposed to be doing. Like you said, my glasses weren't just smudged. There was like a whole new pair of glasses on me. I didn't realize that I got layered on top because again, no one was teaching me what now I'm showing people to do. It was like this missing piece. Everyone was like, oh, just try it this way. Do it this way. So I ended up one more smudge on the glasses, one more smudge on the glasses, one more smudge on the glasses.
And then you look like you went in a Jeep with no doors to a mud pit and
I didn't realize it happened. And then I was like, wow, like I'm really, so finally, when I found that missing piece, oh, someone just showed me how to get deeper into my integrity, find my people, be about what that is, and then showed me how to do it. I had to release a lot of that guilt and shame and some of these really gross emotions that were like, I can't believe I spent so much time getting off track. Like how much time did I waste? How much money did I waste? That business consultant that was telling me that it would work and it didn't. How many people told me that? And so it took me some time after I understood what I teach people now to release a lot of that. It did, like my stomach would drop, my stomach would hurt thinking about the time and the money wasted and spent and the different things that I did that didn't really make sense for me, but I did them because a well-meaning person told me if I did it, I would be successful. It took me some time, like I said, to shake all of that because exactly what you said, it happened to me.
Yeah, when you bring and that's where, that kind of effect on a person is mental well-being right there. That whole, I feel gross. I don't know why I did that. Now I have to try to forgive myself. And you know what? Forgiving yourself is harder than forgiving others.
Absolutely.
100% harder to forgive yourself than it is to forgive anybody else because you're like, I was in this situation. I should have known better.
Yeah.
This other person doesn't know me. Why would they not understand?
Right.
But I think that if you're radically honest with yourself in those situations, you can, again, get more clarity within getting rid of those yucky feelings and being able to actually move forward without it becoming a boulder on your shoulders.
For sure. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
In your case, in your examples, radical honesty is exactly what's needed. Now, this does not mean that I condone anybody going, I'm radically honest, so let me go tell somebody at the picnic that their dress is purple and I hate purple. I actually like purple, so don't come at me. But don't go up to them and tell them they look like Barney or something and just feel, I'm just being honest. No, you're being rude, and that's a totally different thing.
Absolutely. Saying what needs to be said, to who it needs to be said, when it needs to be said. Like having no filter on your mouth is not honesty.
And there's different layers of filters.
Yeah, for sure.
My filters are engaged sometimes, and then I'll still say something I didn't mean to say.
Yeah.
And it's just because it was another layer of a filter that didn't get laid down.
Yeah.
I forgot one.
Yeah.
But I think if we looked at our mental health like we look at a business, I think we'd get a lot more done. I think we would feel a lot better about ourselves, because like we always talk about having a positive mindset. I can tell you I'm positive I don't have a positive mindset. Everybody's, you have to have patience. Patience is a virtue I don't have.
Yeah.
You know what you do need in business? Clear thinking. You have to know where you're going, where you've been, and how you've got there, or how you got to some place in the past, without judging yourself about it, so that you can use it as a tool in the next situation. If you're still judging yourself and you try to use it as a tool in the next thing, you're just going to smudge your glasses again.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. They are so, yeah, it is. Like we already said, it's interconnected. It is not separate. And having that clarity, that mental clarity, living this like clear, simple, more connected life. Those might be three of the most valuable things that you could work on doing to create overall mental well-being long term, decreasing that chaos, decreasing the extra. It's vital. It's vital to that also sustainable long-term mental health and mental well-being.
Yeah. Staying clear, I think, is important. No matter what you're talking about, it could be business, it could be personal, it could be mental health, it could be 1,000 different ways you could think of it. But the second you start to not think clearly about something is the second you're going to start making assumptions. They won't like that if I do it that way because I only like that and I'm weird. Or, oh, I shouldn't do this way. I'm the only one who's going to like it. Or Joe Bob down the street's the only one's going to like it because I know him. But we shouldn't be making assumptions about people either. You let them tell you no. Don't tell yourself no on their behalf.
Totally. And it's also, especially when the stakes are high, like you need to be really clear. So think about needing for example, just to put it into a practical metaphor that people can understand, because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about are these like intangible things. So this is part of why we aren't getting clear in some of these things. But if someone's coming in for a surgery because they have a burst appendix, right? They need someone to operate on them. You don't just want to go to any doctor, right? You wouldn't want to show up at a pediatrician's office if you needed an urgent surgery. But even beyond that, okay, then let me just go to a surgeon. No, you don't want to go to an orthopedic surgeon that's specialty is operating on broken ankles, right? You need a very specific type of help, care, support in that moment because it's a stakes are high situation. And this is part of what people don't get with, oh, can't I just be lackadaisical and can't I just let it go? And even with business, right? Mental health and business. Like with business, of course, that's the people that I run into. Oh, I just want to wing it, whatever. The people that come to me have tried to wing it and be la-di-da-di for 5-7 years, and they're broke now and their runway's gone and they're facing a full-on burnout. But it's the same thing. Oh, I can just do this. No, when the stakes are high, and we would say with business, the stakes are high, and with mental health, the stakes are high. Like you need that clarity, you need that specificity, because if without it, you're really ineffective. It's just like going to an ankle doctor when you need an appendix surgery.
Or to be a little bit closer. So if you're going to a general surgeon, which is who you would go to for an appendix, and they take out your gallbladder instead of your appendix, you're still going to now you're going to have a second surgery because that appendix still needs to come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like You're not fixing anything by going and obviously your incompetent doctor just got you a paycheck, but
Right.
you're not helping yourself by going to somebody who is so incompetent that they didn't know the difference between your gallbladder and your appendix, which, as far as
Absolutely.
I know, are on two different sides of your abdomen.
Right. Totally. Yeah. No, it's important. It's important that I say this from my side professionally. One of the things I hope to do with these conversations is to raise the bar for holistic practitioners, coaches, healers. I want practitioners, coaches, and healers not only for their own success, but also for their clients. I want them to be more specific. I think that practitioners, coaches, healers, service providers have a duty to be more specific about the people that they help, because when we have too many people saying I can help anyone, it's going to take longer. Like they can, yes, but it's going to take longer. And I think in 2025, when we look at the suicide rates and the addiction rates and the mental health crisis and the just how much is going on in the world, I would say this is a stakes are high time. Like we're in this collective dark night of the soul. And when you have so many practitioners who are so qualified, but they're just too general, I think that we aren't doing our duty as service providers by not being specific enough. So we aren't as effective with the people that we work with. Yes, I can bring someone some support and some help, but if I say I work with this specific type of person and this is the outcome I can bring you, instead of needing a year or two of once a week, right? It's really expensive and it's really time consuming. You can solve their problems and you can support them way better. You become an expert, you go deep into mastery, you go deep into integrity and deep into your mission as the service provider. But for the client, for the people that you're here to serve, you also are way deeper into integrity to them. You can solve their problems quicker, right? You don't need to recreate the wheel every time. So that's also part of, again, my hope with these conversations is that not only for business success do I want to support people who haven't been able to build sustainable businesses, but also on the flip side, I think that we have a greater duty and responsibility to be more specific for exactly what you just said, right? If I have a lot of generalists out there, but people are coming in with a very specific thing, it's going to take longer, right? Oh, okay, let me go look in there and let me see what your problem is. But if someone comes in and they say, I have a sharp pain right here, you're like, okay, appendix now. Handle that problem now. But if they come in and you're like, oh, I'm just feeling something, and they're like, let me go take a look, right? It's like that's what so many service providers are doing. And again, it's not that anything's wrong. This is what we're taught. I just am here to raise the bar and say that I think we can do better. And I think that it's necessary. We're in a stakes are high situation. There's a lot going on in the world. People have a lot of things. I think that they need to be able to go find someone that can really clearly and specifically solve what they're up against. If they're a parent to a teen that's suicidal, they need to be able to find someone that's not just like a therapist or I can help you. It's no, I need you to be able to help me with my problem. This is very specific. So I think that's also, again, part of the kind of hidden mission that I guess is not so hidden if I'm talking about it, which I do care to talk about. I just don't want to make anyone feel wrong, like what they're doing is wrong, because that's not my goal. It's more, I think that we can do better.
Yeah, there's always space to do better. And what I was thinking about is that whole quote thing where it's if you stand for nothing, then you'll fall for anything. The opposite of that is if you try to please everybody, you'll please nobody. Because the people who you want to help will be like, she just wants to help these other people. And the people you don't want to help will just be like, she doesn't even do anything we would want her help with. And you have to pick the side of the fence you're going to be on. You can't, yes, the grass is always greener on the other side, but you have to pick your battles. You have to figure out where it makes sense for you to be. Now, if you have a whole lot of background in trauma, it doesn't make sense for you to go to Lollipop Guild land and only help people who are super happy and have never had any trouble in their life. Because you don't even know what that looks like.
Absolutely. Everything that you said, yes. And also it's like specific type of trauma, right? You have people that have trauma from sexual abuse, like that's a very specific type of trauma versus someone that might have trauma from psychedelics use. we need to be more clear about these types of things, because if I had a sister, none of my kids are grown, but if I had a child, of course, but if I had a sister who had a specific type of trauma from having an autoimmune, and that's her path and avenue to find, versus trauma from sexual abuse or trauma from, again, psychedelics use, whatever is causing their stuff to come up, I want to be able to tell her, this is the person to go to. This is the person. And I want to be able to be confident in that, because I know they have worked with 1,000 other people that have gone through what you've gone through, and they'll learn your nuances, but the big stuff, they know what to expect. So I also know that you're going to heal, air quotes heal, right? Find what your dream outcome is quicker, right? And also the chance of harm being caused is way less, because they know how to deal with people, because that's a big thing that's not talked about enough. This is an unregulated space, the space that I'm working with, the holistic healers, coaches, practitioners. These are unregulated spaces. Anyone can go out today and say, I'm a coach. I'm a trauma coach. I'm a business coach. I'm a this type of coach. I'm a life coach. I can help you with this. I can help heal this. We're not doctors. These are unregulated. There is no overseeing body that's doing that. I have seen so many times people go into a retreat or a workshop or work with someone and leave with more harm caused, more confusion. Like, these are some of the problems that I also, again, that will get solved by getting more clear and getting more specific and raising the bar on these types of things, because harm can be caused. Just because someone says that they can help you does not mean they can help you.
No, I mean, I've gone to therapists who have like great reputations for being great therapists, and then I walk in the room, hear 2 sentences out of their mouth, and I'm like, yeah, I've never come back to this joke again.
Exactly. We need this specificity across the board. Again, when the stakes are high, the more specific, the more effective we can be. You don't want to go to an ankle surgeon if you need a gallbladder surgery. That's a lot of what we have going on. And again, I think that we can do better.